Welcome to the I Ching Cafe. My name is Belinda Doveston and we are here together for our weekly I Ching overview for the week commencing the 27th of March 2023. The last weekly overview for March, whoosh, that was March flying by. And if you have not yet done so, or you have already, it is worthwhile to still go back and re-watch the March overview. Great pressure and 31 influence coming to bring us some really interesting focus points on how to unlock March. What does this month mean to us as a collective? And of course, trust your own life all the time. Don't be superstitious. Don't do it because the I Ching has told you to do it. Is use your own life to move forward with perhaps some useful guidance along the way. How do we unlock this wonderful flow in life? So let's get into it. First up, let's get into last week. Oh, we had some troublesome things. Hexagram 28, great pressure. Coal into diamonds, pressure, pressure, pressure. How do we deal with stress? How do we deal with the crisis? How do we rally to walk our path, to be on our own path, yet shore up the areas of our life where we are a little wobbly, okay, where our foundation, our scaffolding is a bit shaky when we put some pressure on. So perhaps you found last week that you were super busy, right? And you start to see the cracks, right? Where are the cracks in the foundation, in the walls that this is manifesting because this roof is getting heavier and heavier? And isn't that a wonderful thing to see those cracks? Because they represent areas of our life where we have not done enough work, where our foundation is not strong, where we're needing to apply our attention. So let's see them as a gift and say, thank you, cracks. Thank you for coming and parting ways so that I can see where things were a bit weak, particularly in businesses. Where is your business got some weaknesses within your team, within your business model that you need to shore up? Where in your personal life are things not quite as stable as they should be? Unstable does not necessarily mean exciting and freedom, okay? Unstable, not a good thing for us. We do not do well with it. So let's shore up and fill in those cracks, shall we? Right, how did that work for you? And what was the exhaustion for you? I affirm that nobody had exhaustion last week, that it was completely off. And if you did have it, how did you deal with it? How did you look at it in a new way? Because you had this insight around 47 exhaustion. What did it mean to you? Okay, so let's look at this week. Right, 27th of March. What are we being asked to pay attention to as we wrap up March and we dip into a little bit of April? What are we being asked to pay attention to? So it's not necessarily a golden sunshine week. Okay, we're obviously under quite a bit of pressure, lots of growth, lots of intensity, and it's all good. But we start this week with Hexagram 29, the Abysmal. This is a doubling of water. The top trigram is water, the bottom trigram is water. It is flow, it is intensity, it is risk, it is danger. Okay, right. So this hexagram brings us the image of the abyss, not the cavern, right? But the cavern with the water flowing down it. Both those images together. And as that water is building up, if there's kind of a flash flood further up, you know, up the road or up the river rather, the water's coming. And you can hear it. And it surges down this ravine. And the way that we deal with it is we let go of our attachments and we take the plunge. Because water just knows how to flow. Okay, if we could only just appreciate and understand how water flows, I think we'd be much happier. We would get further. We'd be far further down the road, because usually what happens is we are clinging to the side of the ravine, hoping that if we just hold fast to where we were and the way that we did things before, everything will go back to normal. Okay, if there's anything the last 3 years has taught us, is that normal is quite a relative term, and we are all adjusting to what normal means. So as we work with this hexagram, we are jumping into the river. What does this mean for us? It can mean literally taking the plunge. So saying yes to something that inherently has risk, has uncertainty, okay? Ooh, uncertainty, what a horrible word. And so we take the plunge. All right. It can also be tackling the challenge. Because if a challenge comes barreling at us and we try to avoid it by clinging onto the rocks and just hoping it'll, if time will just let it pass, we just have to get through this phase, it's going to take us, all right? Because that is not how we deal with water barreling down the ravine. So 2 key focus areas for you personally, in your family life, in your business life, team life. Where is there a challenge I cannot avoid? I have to deal with this thing, okay? Even if I don't want to, I have to take the plunge and deal with it. Or where is the opportunity, which might be full of risk and uncertainty, that I have to take the plunge and trust the flow. Trust my process, trust the process that is trying to help me get to somewhere meaningful in this life, in this moment even, and going for it. Okay, so as we work with this hexagram, we are going to just be tuned into where there's uncertainty, where we feel uncertain, where we feel out of our depths, where we feel that we are a little out of control, or we are being carried by a force, this water, we're being carried by this force we don't feel that we can direct as yet. Take the plunge, be aware of it, understand the risks, mitigate the risks, okay, and go for it. Now, we have one changing line in the 3rd position. And if you watched last week's overview, you'll know that the changing line was also in the 3rd position. So we're in this kind of interesting place. I think, looking back at the last few weeks, we're in this kind of very interesting, prickly area. And perhaps you are finding that things are intense and a little prickly and a little uncertain and uncomfortable. Okay, and perhaps that is good. When we are too comfortable, perhaps we've stopped growing. I don't know. Okay, so as I mentioned last week, this position 3, when we have a line, a changing line in this position, a pop of change, a focus point. This is as we cross the chasm, right? It's line 3, okay? We are about to hop over to the second 3 lines, right? We're in that, literally crossing the abyss here. And this particular changing line is also cautionary like last week's one. And it says, we are at risk of going so far down a dead end without realizing it's a dead end and getting trapped, okay? Woe and tears and drama will ensue. So there's something around getting taken down a little side street or a little side rivulet, right? And being barreled down into this kind of deeper abyss and getting stuck in the pit, as it's called, right? Because this hexagram is called Abysmal, but it's also called the pit, all right? The repeating ghost, the repeating river, the deepening abyss. And we have the risk this week of getting stuck. So how do we work with this? Because the hexagram is telling us, take the plunge, there's this risk, there's this uncertainty, we're having to deal with it and flow like water. And there's also this little kind of thing saying, warning, warning, we could land ourselves in a dead end. Wherever you are making decisions this week or thinking about opportunities that are in front of you, especially ones that are uncertain or filled with risk, where you are tackling an obstacle or an issue that you have finally accepted you're not going to avoid anymore, think about, where is my escape clause? Okay, all right. And build into your thinking the escape hatch. Okay, because the story of this line, what it is trying to get our attention to is where we are sending ourselves down a pathway where we get stuck. It's almost like when you watch White River rafters, all right? And one of the things they learn how to do is how to avoid the eddies, because you get taken down and then the water just keeps you under and drowns you. That's the image, right? You can go down into a dangerous area where the water just keeps you trapped and locked, all right? That's what we want to avoid. So we have to be in the water, but we have to be aware. So we build in the escape clause. Perhaps you are working on a new project this week. Perhaps you are signing a lease. Perhaps you are thinking about a relationship. Not that relationships should, have escape clauses technically, although a prenuptial agreement is such a thing. But it's that idea of the escape. If things are not going well down this road, how do I get out of this? and make sure that whatever you're contracting, whatever's in front of you this week, that you have given it your attention from this perspective. Okay, so let's see how this manifests for you. We'll check in with your comments next week. What were the little eddies that could potentially keep you trapped under the water, keep you trapped in the dead end, and take you away from where you need to be? We want to be in the main part of the river on our kayak going woohoo, because this is just so amazing. We don't want to be under the water, trapped and worse. Okay, so where does that lead to? Where does that changing line lead to? Okay, well, very interesting. We stay with the theme of water to some extent, because there's only one changing line. Water stays on the top, but the bottom changes from water to wind or wood. Okay, that gives us hexagram 48, the well. Imagine when you look at the structure of the hexagram, we have wind or wood below. So let's use the wood part of windwood, which is your bucket, okay, and you have your water, and the bucket goes into the water and pulls up. That's the image that you can use to understand this hexagram. Okay, so the well. We had the well the week before last. So here it is again. We are back into focusing on structures in our life that tap us into the inexhaustible supply. There's something around the work we started the week before last on the well that we have not yet finished that has come back for our consideration. So in this week, our attention is in this hectic water vibe, okay, dealing with the rapids, and also the structures we use to give us energy, to tap us into finance, relationships, joy, expression, that symbol of the positive manifestation of water. So networks, relationships, connections, alliances, the structures that you are building in your business. What is your business model? This is probably the most important well that you have. If you have a business model that is tapping into a need, pun intended, okay, it's the gift that keeps on giving. So we look within our business to our business model, the structure, the network, the things that we are building that are allowing us access to the market, and we focus on that. In our personal lives, we focus our attention on the structures that provide us access to that supply. Is that your spiritual practices or your religion or your family or your community? What does that structure mean? What is that place where everyone comes to get water? And tap into working with that, understanding the wells that are in your life and making them work for you, being productive in how you tap into that inexhaustible energy that's available to all of us if we could just learn how to get out of the way. Okay, so an interesting week. We are tapping into the beginning of April this week. Around the corner, I'll be working with our monthly overview for April. Who knows what is going to come around the corner for there, what the energy shifts to from pressure and influence, where it goes to next. So I trust that you work with this week well, pardon the pun. And of course, please like and share if this was meaningful, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. I'll see you on the socials, and I will see you at our monthly overview very soon. Until then, have a wonderful week.